a goose that produces golden eggs should be kept for the future of the people of this country.
Dan gas industry, kita kerjasama dengan Petronas. After all, we need Petronas also.
Across party lines and on both sides of the South China Sea, a clear message is emerging. Safeguard Petronas, Malaysia's golden goose, but give due respect to Sarawak's needs and ambitions. In recent years, Sarawak has been pushing for more control over the gas supply chain. In particular, it wants to be appointed the sole gas aggregator in the state. Here's how it works. Gas is extracted by upstream producers. The aggregator buys that gas, sets the price, and sells it to industries and utilities. For years, Petronas was that aggregator. It kept prices stable, ensured national supply, and earned 10 to 20 billion ringgit annually doing the job. Now, Petros, Sarawak's state-owned oil firm, wants that role. That means it can now set prices and eventually earn up to 20 billion ringgit per year at Petronas' expense. That is a significant sum, given that Petronas is expected to contribute some 30 billion ringgit in annual dividends to the federal government. The loss of pricing power also means the once seamless integration of upstream and downstream operations will become disjointed. Petronas, the golden goose, is now under threat on two fronts, financially and operationally. Petronas contributes between 30 billion ringgit and 50 billion ringgit a year to the national coffers, almost 20% of national revenue. That's about the same size as our entire healthcare budget. Take that away, and it's akin to losing our hospitals, clinics, and ambulance services. And it's not just about numbers. Petronas powers an economic multiplier worth trillions, directly and indirectly supporting over 400,000 jobs across the country. And if other oil-producing states like Kelantan, Terengganu, and Sabah follow Sarawak's lead, the entire national gas system could disintegrate. Recently, Sarawak issued a legal notice to Petronas Carigali, claiming it was operating illegally. That triggered a massive public outcry across the country.
Takkanlah sampai orang kata to kill the goose that lay the golden egg. Pasal kalau Petronas rugi, Sarawak pun rugi.
So the fair deal is to look at the real formula so that a company, a goose that produces golden eggs, should be kept for the future of the people of this country.
So as a politician who thinks about the future of our country, I would defend Petronas to the last mile.
Putrajaya MP Razi Jidin wants the government to resolve the Petronas-Petros issue without delay, or risk seeing the national oil company's golden era fade into the past. Ahmad Fadli Sha'ari warns that ceding Petronas' rights could lead to a 30 to 40% reduction in federal revenue. He says the government is obliged to disclose the financial implications of such a move.
To destroy Petronas, I think, it's a bad move, because this is one company that Malaysians are proud of. It's a great company.
But for heaven's sake, don't kill the goose that lays a golden egg.
Sarawak says it is asserting its rights under state law. But leaders say this should be a negotiation, not a war.
Dan gas industry, kita kerjasama dengan Petronas. After all, we need Petronas also.
And acknowledging that since Petronas was already formed and also managing all the oil and gas sector in Sarawak, that's why eventually what we have agreed is the commercial arrangement.
Sarawak's Utility and Telecommunications Minister, Julaihi Narawi, believes Petronas is best placed to implement the Sarawak Gas Roadmap 2030 effectively.
Kerajaan Persekutuan dan Kerajaan Negeri Sarawak memperakui, pertama mengiktiraf Akta PDA 1974 seperti yang tertera dalam peruntukan undang-undang.
Sarawak claims it deserves a bigger share, arguing that oil and gas found within 200 nautical miles of its coast is within its territorial boundaries. The state argues that its boundaries were extended under a colonial-era order issued by Queen Elizabeth II in 1954. It also relies on state enactments such as the Oil Mining Ordinance 1958 and the Distribution of Gas Ordinance 2016, and has established Petros, the state's very own oil company, to assert control over ONG resources within its borders. However, experts question the legitimacy of these claims. They argue that the Petroleum Development Act of 1974 grants Petronas exclusive ownership of all onshore and offshore petroleum resources, overriding state laws. Article 75 of the Federal Constitution provides that in the event of an inconsistency, federal law shall prevail over state law, and that the state law shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void.
I would call it a policy and regulatory fog. The simple reason is the international oil companies don't know who is in charge anymore.
That fog has led Shell to file for court protection and may explain ConocoPhillips' withdrawal from a 13.7 billion ringgit deepwater project. Opposition MP and former Foreign Minister Saifuddin Abdullah says there may be consequences on the sovereignty of the nation's energy ecosystem if Petros turns to foreign partners.
What if they were required to invite other parties to come in? That is going to be the tricky part. From which country would the other party come in to exploit?
Other Sarawakian leaders are also urging caution.
Bahawa tindakan itu, macam saya kata hari itu, membunuh angsa emas mereka sendiri. Sarawak ni, dia ada banyak kes yang mana apabila mereka menguruskan sesuatu, they are facing problems sebenarnya. They are in trouble. Klien mereka tidak besar, connection mereka tidak besar, kemudian pengalaman mereka juga tidak jauh.
We have to be pragmatic. We do not want to be champions only in our own backyard. We must first get the golden goose to lay a few more golden eggs.
The path forward, many argue, is not to rupture, but through a structured recalibration of roles.
State governments can set up their own oil companies, but the question I would ask them is to what end? So as long as there's clarity, we take this portion, you take this portion, and there's clarity to the international investors, then it's okay.
Clarity is needed fast, because this is no longer just about Sarawak. It's about the whole country. Everyone from MPs, the government, leaders in Sarawak, and the public has spoken. The golden goose must remain intact for the nation to thrive. What we can do is look to share its eggs more equitably. Danish Raja Reza, FMT.